Long as I wake up in the morning, I'ma get a bag. Get a bag, yeah, I'ma get a bag. Long as I wake up in the morning, I'ma get a bag. Get a bag, yeah, I'ma get a bag.
All right. Welcome again to SportsBites, the self-proclaimed #1 podcast, bringing you the best of two worlds, sports and snacks. I'm here with my guest, Robert Bialik.
How you doing, guys?
Robert? Once again, I am Randall Horn. Good to have everyone here. Robert, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's just another day.
Just another day, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's podcast day, so...
Yeah, I guess it's a little better than another day.
Yeah, you know. So, we got a little bit to go over tonight. Some fun weekend of football.
Fun.
Try and be positive here, Robert. It's almost Christmas, man. So, yeah, a few things to go over. You know, I know we've been talking all day about some things back and forth. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to start off, throw a little shout-out to everybody out there watching the podcast. We want to thank everybody so far for their support, everybody that's been watching. Still need those subscribes, likes. Hit that like, subscribe button. Comment on here. Give us some topics. Give us some snacks y'all want to review. Like I said in our previous podcast, we're working on 50 subscribers. When we hit that 50 subscribes, we are going to do a little giveaway, and we're going to do another one at 100, and then 250, 500, 1,000, and we're just going to keep on going. The more we got, the more we'll give. And yes, let's try to get up there, and we appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah, it's real easy. Just click.
That's it.
Click.
Just
click
click
subscribe. And if you get in with the first 50 with that drawing, the chances of winning something with only 50 people much better than when we get to 100. So
absolutely.
Want to be in quick.
Exactly. Good point, Robert. Good point. Well, tonight, you know, got our normal opening ceremony. We got our little snack review. So tonight we're gonna try the Crazy Candy Lemon Burst. Anderson's Crazy Candy. These are freeze-dried lemon heads, I believe. They call them Lemon Burst. I'm pretty sure there's probably a copyright issue somewhere in there.
Probably.
But you know what? Lemon Burst, lemon heads, I love them all. So.
Yeah, when you told me that was the snack, I think I told you I'll fuck up some lemon heads. That used to be my go-to movie snack. I'd just get a box of lemon heads, and by the end of the movie, that box would be done. I would destroy my mouth.
Bro, we're going to have a hard time talking by the end of this. Look at these. Look at these.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see what we got, man. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, that just melts.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I was trying to keep the crunch out of the microphone.
You know what? SportsBites, I'm sure everybody understands at this point.
Oh, wow.
That is one of the greatest things I've ever had.
Yeah.
In my entire life. I want to make sure
these are better than the Skittles.
Yeah, most definitely. Wow. They just... I don't know if I've ever had anything like that. Like, everything we had to talk about to go over tonight is like just vanished.
Let's just talk about lemon heads.
Right. Wow. So when did you eat your first lemon head?
Honestly, I don't remember. It was late. I think I was in like the time in middle school and high school where you were going to the movies all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got a box of lemon heads one time. And I was like, these are amazing.
Well, I don't remember my first time having a lemon head, but I remember my first time having one of these, and
yeah, this is great.
I may not ever forget that. Yeah, those are going to be gone by the end of this podcast. I got a feeling. That's wow. Okay, well, we'll come back to those at the end, but I'm sure, like I said, these are going to get dogged on tonight. So
dogged on like the Cowboys and Eagles.
I was going to say, where you want to start this thing off at, man? Cowboys and Eagles both, huh? So, yeah, that's such a tough subject, and I know
for you maybe. I've been preaching it all season about the Cowboys. I get told in our fantasy group chat that I'm a hater and I hate the Cowboys more than anybody. No, I'm realistic. I know I've been here before. I know this team. Everyone was making a big deal after they beat the Eagles. Like, oh, they beat the Eagles. They're a real deal. They do that every year. It's something they do every year.
Yeah. And
Jalen Hurts has never won in Dallas. You know why? Because we always win in Dallas. There's nothing new. It's the same thing.
Well, and I know watching the Bills game, in y'all's, God, I can't believe I'm about to say in your defense to the Cowboys. In your defense, that might have been the dirtiest game I've ever seen Buffalo play. They had some dirty, cheap shots. Even Rachel, shout out to the wife, Buffalo fan for life, big time Mafia. Even she said during a few of those plays, like, that's a little bit rough.
There were two hits on Dak that the first one, I think he just can't. I don't really think was dirty. The second one I think was a little bit, but I didn't really look at it like that. I saw it as the Buffalo Bills came out there looking like a team that needed to win a football game.
Absolutely.
And the Cowboys came out there looking like they were the hot shit and reading all the press about how great they were. It happens every year.
I was going to ask do you think that they came into that one just expecting it? Just expecting to win?
I don't think expecting to win. I don't know. I don't know what it is about the Cowboys. Is when you start talking the Cowboys, when everyone starts sucking them off and talking them up, they always do this. So my only hope is that maybe we lose another one of our last 3 games and people just write us off.
Yeah.
Because that is when the Cowboys play the best. I still, no matter what, I don't see anyone beating the 49ers in the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter.
Although I will say, I know that there was some Niners fans that were probably quite worried when Brock Purdy took that hit and went down. I know he came right back in, but there was a moment I feel like every 49ers fan held their breath because at this point in the season, yes, Sam Darnold could come in and maybe get the job done, but they're not going to have what they have now if Purdy. They are a complete puzzle, but they are in that sense exactly that, a puzzle, where if you take one piece out at this point, everything I feel like is going to be, you'll always have an issue with that one piece.
We
missing.
saw that earlier this year when Debo got hurt, was out a couple games. Christian McCaffrey went out in the first quarter of that one game. Trent Williams was out a few games, and they did not look the same.
Yeah.
That was when they went on their losing streak, and everyone was like, are the Niners frauds?
Yeah.
No, they're not frauds. No. They are not the Eagles or Cowboys. They are not frauds.
Even when they were on that little slump, it felt different than watching the Cowboys and the Eagles right now. It wasn't a sense of, oh, they're frauds. No, they had some injuries on guys that they depend on. I feel like both of our teams, respectively, can play at a higher level than they've played, especially this last week. And as far as the Eagles, I'm like hearing all these people like, well, Jalen, dealing with the flu-like symptoms, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, it wasn't just Jalen. It wasn't. Brent, last week on the podcast, Brent talking about Kansas City, and I loved the verbiage he used, was talking about without Tyreek, they just don't, they're not crispy. And I said, that was such a good word. I like using that. They don't have that crispiness. That's the way the Eagles were. They were sloppy. They didn't look like they were truly in it. I truly think that when Drew Lock came in, I think the Eagles did have that mindset of, oh, yeah, this game is locked. No pun intended. We've got this. And we ended up letting a game get away from us that probably should have been a win. I know weather, quarterback not feeling good, but Jalen didn't do bad. Like, he was still running the ball. He was still getting the brotherly shove done when he needed it. I just think our defense is hurting right now. Something terrible.
The secondary is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's...
But I think even when y'all were 10-1, or whatever y'all's record, was it 10-1?
I think so, yeah.
You saw glimpses of there's something missing with this team throughout the year, where they barely won a few games. They didn't look like the Eagles from last year, offensively, defensively. I don't know what it is. But there has been something missing from them this year, and it's just gotten exposed in the last few games.
Well, I know one of our defensive backs, he was big last year. Who was it? I want to say Gardner Johnson. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome for us last year. He was a big part of it. Avonte Maddox, that hurts.
That makes sense with the secondary.
And then Slay, arthroscopic knee surgery. I think that was kind of probably the tipping point. We've been on edge even with Slay in. We've been on the edge of really struggling worse than we have been on defense, and I think him being out was it showed. Drew Lock came in, and while he didn't play a stellar game, he did everything he needed to. And our secondary, I'm not taking anything away from the play that won the game for them at the end. It was a great pass and a great catch, and our secondary let them have it. They were like, here, just...
Yeah, Bradbury just let Njigba, Jackson Smith and Njigba just run right by him.
Yep, and I'm not taking anything away from the Seahawks. They played a great game. They played a game that I think surprised a lot of people. I think, us talking earlier, I wasn't mad that the Eagles lost. I was mad that I stayed up that late and watched that travesty of defense at the end of the game. I'm like, we can play shit defense all game if we want to, as long as we keep our shit together at the very end of the game. Don't fall apart when it counts.
Right.
And that's our record at 10-1 was because up to that point, we played all 4 quarters till every last play was over, till the final whistle. The last few games, we haven't done that. And I think that's been a big thing, whether it's defensive players missing or the offense not popping on the same level that it was. The Desai Patricia thing, there's so many factors to it. I just don't think the guys wanted it as much as they should have.
One thing that did make sense to me was that final drive. They still had quite a bit of time left with 2 timeouts, I think. It didn't make sense, the play calls that they were doing, because you have Jake Elliott who could boom the ball. And it didn't seem like that last play that they threw the interception. Why are you doing that play? Go for the middle of the field. Run the ball.
Yep.
Do a QB draw. You have timeouts. You don't need to get too much farther for Jake Elliott to get in field goal range. You get to that field goal range, and then you take a shot.
And all he needs is a shot. Jake has proven if you're within 60, 61 yards, you just have to give him the shot. Will he miss some? Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Right. But
he's been on more than he's been off, so...
And once you get into field goal range, then you can take a shot at the end zone, and then who knows?
Yeah.
It seemed forced to me.
And I think a lot of that had to do with maybe players being a bit worn out, not being in it mentally, and I think the coaches see that as the game goes on. I think as a coach, you can tell the dynamic on the sidelines. When they scored that touchdown, the look on Jalen Hurts' face. Like, I want to see a quarterback, and I love Jalen. This is not taking anything away from him. But I want to see a quarterback jump up, grab his gear, and have the look of, okay, I've got 30 seconds left. Let me go do something. He sat there and looked out there like, well, this game's over.
My defense, I'll say, of Jalen Hurts is he always looks like that. I don't think that he is. That's one thing that I like about him. He doesn't get up. He doesn't get too down. Like, he is even keel. I think that's if you look at him on the sidelines after every drive, he's sitting on the bench. They put the coat on him, and he just that's kind of how he is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have looked too much into that, but maybe you're right. The one thing that I wonder, there seems to be a disconnect between him and A.J. Brown this year. It's almost like they don't like each other. And I think that may be one thing that's missing from the offense is there's that disconnect between those two because they were killing it last year.
And I don't know what would cause that other than just a little bit of more fight against them than they've had last year. I feel like, last year everything clicked. It was like everything just magically fell into place for us. Many games did we win that I was like, we're not going to have a shot on this one, and everything just worked out all of a sudden. And again, we had a great team, but I feel like we've had more adversity this year, and maybe it's because we were that team last year, and we lost Kansas City, but we went all the way, and at the beginning of that season, nobody was giving us a shot at it. And I think that maybe that extra adversity this year has made it harder to get open, has made it harder to make those throws, and when you got a guy who's always been on the same page as another guy, when all of a sudden those plays aren't happening, I mean, I guess naturally you do get a little bit pissed off about it.
Yeah. Yeah, It should be an interesting final 3 weeks. The division is up for grabs. And as pessimistic as I am of the Cowboys, I will say our only chance in the playoffs is winning the division. Because the Cowboys are a completely different team at home compared to on the road. They beat the shit out of teams at home.
I agree.
And then they look awful. They're playing on grass. They look awful. I don't quite understand it. But as of right now, they have the same record. The Eagles will have the tiebreaker if we all three went out. I saw today the new tiebreaker because the division record will be the same. The conference record will be the same. It goes to strength of wins. And the Eagles have that pretty soundly. So the Dallas is really their only chance is for the Eagles to lose one of their last 2 games to the Giants. Because then we would win the tiebreaker from a division record, and we could afford to lose one of our last 3 games and still win the division. And that's our only chance of winning 2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because if we win those 2 games, no one is beating the Niners in the NFC. I don't see it. I think we are on our way to another Niners-Ravens Super Bowl.
Could be. They definitely look the part right now, the Ravens and the Niners. While we're talking about the Ravens real quick, I've got a couple things still on Dallas that I want to hit on, but, man, Keith Mitchell.
There's something...
Golly.
That sucks. That kid's good.
Electrifying.
I saw something that, there's like a curse on the Ravens running backs.
Yeah.
Every single one of them gets hurt for the year. Every year.
It happens all the time. Yeah.
It's a shame.
You think Ray Rice cursed him when all that stuff happened?
It's the curse of Ray Rice.
It's got to be
That's
it, man.
what it is.
That's what it is. Damn it, Ray.
Those football gods, they'll get you.
Well, I want to say back to Dallas. Y'all played a tough game. I mean, the Bills, like you said, the Bills brought it. I mean, they came there like a team that needed to win a football game.
Because they did.
Exactly.
And they did.
And if they, honestly, I said once again to Rachel, was like, if the Bills had played like that all season, they'd probably be the number 1 team in the AFC, at least right there with Baltimore.
I think they're still... I said the Ravens and 49ers in the Super Bowl. The Bills are my second pick out of the AFC. I think that their record doesn't show how good of a team they are.
I have the Ravens. The Bills always as that dark horse if they make it in. I hate to say it. I'm like, even with all the woes and all the crying and shit this year, I still see if Kansas City... I still see them with the ability to make a run.
I don't.
Only because they seem to always be that team that, like, you can't ever count them out. The moment you count them out, then boom, they're right in it. And, you've got, Travis Kelce about to propose to Taylor. I'm just kidding. Just like last week, we're not talking about this shit. I'm just joking.
That doesn't bother... The people that I don't get that. Why it bothers people so much about Taylor Swift.
Because this is football, man.
Yeah, I guess. I get that, but I mean...
Well...
It's not her that's putting herself on TV. It's the TV. It's the broadcast that keeps showing her. I bet she would probably rather just to watch the game in peace and be left alone.
Probably. Although I will say, when Kelce took that shot in the end zone, she looked really upset when she jumped up and was like, "Oh no."
Oh no. Yeah. No. What the fuck is more like?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Hey, that's pretty cool to see. She has turned into she's turned into one of us. She is a football fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even if she did turn against the Eagles to...
That was every Chiefs fan stood up and said, "What the fuck" at that point.
Yeah.
So she was just one of them.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people, fans of other teams that saw it probably stood up and was like, "What the fuck?" But
yeah, that is something that she ditched the Chiefs, or she ditched the Eagles for the Chiefs.
Yep. Hurt my heart a little bit. not that much. But, I'm going to write a friggin' song about it. So, back to Dallas real quick. I do want to say, in Philly, one thing we don't really ever have to worry about is our line. We've got a great offensive line, and we've got guys that swap in and out when guys do have to come out for a little bit. I do have to say, Zach Martin, one of the best offensive linemen in the league. He truly is. I will say this. I never realized how big of a piece of your offensive line he was until he went out of that game. Dak was already being pressured quite a bit and was having a tough time. Man, when Zach Martin came out of the game, that was when Dak, I felt like truly they were just like, we're just going to kick his ass at this point. And that's really what I felt like started happening. It's an offensive line, obviously, is more than one person, but I feel like Zach Martin, your whole line changed when he was gone. And the Bills exploited that to the fullest. I thought he was coming back. They showed him on the sideline like, oh, they're icing him up. He's good. And then at halftime, he came out with no pads or anything and was like, wow.
Yeah, he said after the game that it was like he got hit in the quad deep, and it was it just he couldn't do it. It was done for the day. But he said that he thinks going through the week, getting treatment and everything, that he'll be ready to go next week. It didn't seem like it was super serious. So
yeah,
that's big because I agree. When that happened, I know the Cowboys pretty well. I knew that. I was like, oh, this game
tough one to come back from right
over.
there.
We've already looked like crap. This game is over. And I said last week when Hankins went out, I said, well, this is going to really hurt our defense because last year, the beginning of the year, the weakness of our defense was run defense. We couldn't stop the run. So we made a big move, and we got Hankins. And you're like, oh, he's old. Blah. But we started stopping the run, and we've been one of the better run stoppers this year. He went out, and look what James Cook did. I mean, he feasted. Yeah. For my fantasy team, but he feasted.
Right. Well, I had to point that out only because, again, you know, I try to pay attention a little bit to everybody. Obviously, I pay attention more to the Eagles than anyone, but that was a game that, you know, not just because Rachel is a Bills fan, but that I was like, this should be a good game. Like, I knew that there was the possibility of it swinging one way or the other quick. Was they always there? Both those teams are that kind of team where it's like the moment they get on top of you, they're going to beat you into the friggin' ground.
Another one of the turning points was it was 14-3, I believe. And Diggs made a play on the sideline, and we came right before he was going down, punched the ball out, and then recovered the ball. The Bills did a great job of getting to the line, snapping the ball before we could even review it. I don't really even blame us for not, because we didn't even get a chance to look at it. But we get that fumble recovery, 14-3. Maybe things kind of change a little bit. I'm not sure how much because they just beat the shit out of us all game. But that could be one of those momentum changers if that happens.
Absolutely. But, I mean, football, we both know football is a game of momentum.
Right.
But when you have the mo, everything seems to click. And that definitely is a game changer right there is when something like that happens because your team feeds off of it. Hey, that's a big one. Let's go make another big one happen.
That's what we do. As I love our defense, but we're not a defense that is going to just shut you down to where you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
We give up yards.
Yeah.
We give up plays. We give up yards, but we turn the ball over. That's our strength. So not committing any turnovers, not as good.
Hey, that's the Eagles' strength, too. We've turned the ball over really We're great at turnovers.
I mean, look, the two games that we played against you guys, the first game, we forced 3 fumbles. You guys recovered them.
Yeah.
We forced 3 fumbles against you in the second game. We recovered them. And look at...
If I'm not mistaken, y'all got points off every one of them, too.
Probably. I think we got points on almost most drives.
I think so.
Our offense was clicking that game. Well, our offense clicks at home.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say, I mean, you know, we talked about it. I know we tried to do the podcast, the first official podcast we tried to do.
After the first game.
Yeah. And so that, you know, we didn't get that one up. And I know we had, you know, made some jokes and some comments. I just want you to know that I do have for Christmas for you coming to you, I've got a nice big Tony Pollard poster.
Okay.
It's for you, my man. It's for you.
He's been better since then.
That's kind of, the joke kind of is, when we had that first podcast that never made it up, I know you weren't huge on him. It's almost like the man heard you. Has he been a spectacular, electrifying? No, but man, he's gotten the job done.
He's been what I would expect, and we've gotten good backup with Rico Dowdle. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, he's been great too. No, Pollard and him have ran the ball much better since that first game against the Eagles.
Well, you hit on, the Steph Diggs. You hit on that. You hit on them getting up to the line real quick. I've got it listed on here to talk about. We've been kind of holding back or maybe just barely talking about it here and there, and I feel like we've gotten to the point where we got to kind of start bringing this into the light and actually bringing it up as a major topic, because it's become a major topic this season, is the officials. So, to me, I'm like, it is their job to see that. I get it. Bang, bang plays. It's hard to see everything. And even on that one...
That one was hidden.
Yeah, that one I'm not going to knock on it. But it opens it sheds light on the bigger situation that we're having that basically says officiating has been terrible in the NFL this year. Not just for the Dallas Cowboys, not just for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know the Eagles, we got away with some shit through the season. I know Dallas, you were saying, Dallas is one of the most penalized teams in the league. I have seen too many games, even games that are completely irrelevant to me, to what my fandom and all that I just see calls happen. I'm like, man, this is getting ridiculous. Because, I know last week, me and Brent kind of joked on Patrick Mahomes. It's like, man, dude complaining about a penalty that was clearly a penalty. I get it, discretionary call, but it's clearly a penalty. But looking at some of the other games around the league, it is starting. I understand a bit more, his frustration looking at some of these games where these games truly do start getting determined by ref calls, whether it's missed calls or penalties that really didn't need to be called at the end of in the last few seconds of games that are really counting, causing things to happen. And I know a lot of them can be said, teams get fired up at the end of the game. You start making mental mistakes. But there's no denying the fact that the officiating has been very lackluster this year in the NFL. And quite honestly, I'm not really sure what direction they need to take to fix that problem, if there is a solution to it. We can't go into, reviewing every single penalty that comes out onto the field. You can't. And I've been saying, Florida State, Louisville game, those refs of that game need to have a symposium for every NFL ref to watch, because that's how a football game should be called. They let guys play. And I get college and pros, it's a different game. But they let guys play. They called the blatant stuff. The rest of it was like, hey, you guys play football. And I feel like the NFL, they need that. I know bigger, stronger, faster. You have the higher risk of guys getting hurt. All of those things. But at the same time, these guys, that's what they're there for. They get paid to play football. And I can't remember who the former player analyst always said, you can call holding on every single play. You can't.
Especially if Micah Parsons is rushing the quarterback.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
I'd like to see a stat of how many times it's been called against him this year, because I would say it's probably 5% of the time. Because I swear he gets held every single play. But he's so fast to get by a player that it's only for not a long time, but he gets by him and the guy's arms are still across his body and will kind of hold him back a little bit, and then they let go. But it's no, he's past him.
Yeah.
He's stopping his momentum from getting any farther. It's just because Parsons is fast at getting to that point.
Yeah.
Call it.
So I got to ask, in your book, and this isn't something we've really talked about, what are some solutions? Do you know of it? Can you think of anything that, because, it's a fast-paced game. There's no denying it's a fast-paced game, and calls, no matter how perfect refs want to be, calls are going to get missed, but damn, when you're missing multiple calls a game, and it's either one or the other. I feel like you have games where every call gets missed. They throw tons of flags, but all the calls get missed. They're missing plays here and there. or you have games that the refs literally have more time on the TV than the players do. It's a damn penalty every other play.
I'm not sure there is a solution because I think it's the NFL themselves want it. Because, like this offensive offsides that keeps being called.
Yeah.
From what I've understood and read is that the NFL has made it a point of emphasis for the refs to call this. So they keep telling the refs, and like every year, every week, there's a new call. Call this more. Call this more. They're not telling the refs to call things less. They're telling them to call things more. So it's an NFL problem, and we are at the mercy of it, and we're not going to do a damn thing about it. And we're going to keep watching, and we're just going to keep bitching. That's what's going to happen.
Do you think? I hate to sound like that because that's probably an irresponsible mindset to have. But do you think the NFL uses that? Do you think they use that? Because, I mean, we've seen wins this year happen because of calls. Do you think that's
the whole
used?
Script thing?
Not necessarily scripted, but do you think, and not even necessarily the NFL, maybe just refs' discretion. You ever think, I mean, we see it all the time. You see penalties get thrown, guys get in refs' face, they're out there cussing them, fuck you, man, I'll kick your ass. As long as you don't touch them and you get out of their face after a few seconds, you'll be all right. Do you think refs ever just finally get fed up and they're like, you know what? That was a hold. That was a game-winning drive. That's a hold.
Well, they are humans, so probably.
Yeah.
I think there's the human element to it where things can get personal, probably. For sure. But I don't really think there is a solution for it. I think the players have to do their best to try and not commit penalties.
Well,
and if you're on the Cowboys, you're not good at that because they commit penalties all the time.
And that's part of it. It's just there. I guess as long as there is a game that has penalties, you will always have missed calls. And I guess that's something that players
and bad calls.
Yeah.
Same thing in basketball.
Yeah.
And basketball is more of a refs control game.
Absolutely, 100%.
Happens in baseball.
Yeah. I mean, I will say baseball, I feel like initiating the challenge rule has helped a little bit in that sense. But you look at behind the plate calls, they're terrible. Although I joked at work, I was like, it's kind of funny. I feel like Angel Hernandez got every one of his family members a job as an NFL ref because
this was the first year that I've watched as much baseball as I did. I maybe missed less than 10 Orioles games all year. Watched a lot of baseball.
Yeah.
And wow, the umpires are awful.
Yeah.
I think there's a solution in baseball though. I don't want robo umps. I don't want a full robo ump.
Well, it takes
I
away.
like the hybrid system.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the minors they're using the hybrid system, and maybe in some colleges, where the umpire is making the calls, but each team has a certain amount they can challenge. Mm-hmm. They can challenge a strike call, a strike or ball call, and it's instantaneous pretty much. They say challenge, the ref, that there's like a buzzer or something that it tells them immediately that was a strike, that was a ball, and because there are some big calls, that can change the outcome of a game, and so if you can have a challenge of that, I like that system. I don't want full robo-umps. I like umpires having their own strike zone. I do like that. I like when things are kind of one day the outside maybe getting the strike call, the next the inside maybe getting a strike call. What I don't like is where the outside is getting the strike call for this team, but then this team you're not calling. It doesn't get called. I hate the inconsistency.
Absolutely. And that's I'm for the robo-umps in the sense of kind of like you're talking about the hybrid system. You want calls to be better, but as far as baseball, no, I don't want full robo-umps because that takes away. It is America's pastime. The game has always been played a certain way, and when you take that away, it's not, to me, it's not the same baseball.
See, I'm usually not like that. Like, all these new rules that they've been adding, I've liked them. Like, I loved the pitch count. I love it.
I didn't think I would like it at first because I thought players would have a hard time adjusting, but they've done great.
They
made it entertaining.
Quick.
Yeah.
Like, the preseason, you could tell, like, in the training camp and everything, you could, or spring training, you could tell it took some adjusting.
Yeah.
And people were making a big deal because, like, someone got called out on a strike, and they were like, could you imagine this happening in the playoff? It's like, it won't, though. They will have played over 100 games at that point.
Yeah.
And they will have adjusted to what they need to do. And there was no issues in the playoffs.
It was actually a Braves game that was, I think it was preseason, yeah.
Red Sox?
I'm not sure who they were playing, but we had bases loaded, and they walked.
That's right.
They walked the run in, and as they walked the run in, they called the clock penalty on the batter, and it was full count, and they strung him up to end the game. And that was, which that to me, that's an extreme situation. The odds of that happening multiple times is pretty low, but it opened some eyes. It made some guys start like really understanding, like, hey, they're going to be strict about this. So, that's I've liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
I like that they made the base. I don't mind the bases being bigger.
Yeah.
I don't mind the rule that you only get a certain amount of throwovers.
Yes.
To first. I'm not usually one of those ones that are like, oh, the purist of baseball, it needs to stay pure. But I do like, I don't want to have a robot being on. Yeah. For some reason, I just...
well, and unfortunately, the problem that we're running into is when you have, again, I'm not just trying to dog on the guy, but he is the worst offender in all of Major League Baseball. When you have umps like Angel Hernandez, you make it look bad for all of them to where the league has to look at robo-umps. Because when you have umpires that are missing so many calls, I'm like, at some point you have to say, all right, man, we can't do this. To me, personally, I'm amazed the guy still has a job, especially as a home plate ump. I'm amazed still because there's no denying.
He's awful.
He might be the worst umpire ever in all of Major League Baseball history. And that's like, you don't really remember umpires for shit, but
if you're an umpire that people know your name,
yeah.
If people know your name as an umpire, you're bad.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I agree.
There was
a
guy I remember late '90s when me and my dad were into the Orioles watching. I think it was John Hirschbeck. I still remember his name. Mm-hmm. That's how bad he was. There's two umpires, basically, that I know their name. Hirschbeck and Angel Hernandez.
Well, best of luck to Angel. I hope he gets his shit together for next year.
Yeah.
But I doubt it. Let's see. Quick shout-outs. Shout out to Joe Flacco. Flacco, something like that. I think it's pronounced Flacco. Falco, okay.
Joe Keanu Reeves Falco.
I'm not going to lie. Threw him in on the fantasy league. In your league, needed a quarterback. Had C.J. Stroud, and Burrow was like, okay, I have nothing. See what old Joe can do. 3 interceptions at the beginning of the game. I'm like, damn it, Joe. You're going to do this to me right now, aren't you? And then comes through. 300, over 300, 3 touchdowns. I mean,
you forget, he's a Super Bowl champion.
He's elite. He's elite.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
Well, I wanted to shout out to him.
No, that's a good shout out. He is. He's done well filling in.
He's holding them together in a time that they need it. Yeah. And so I think Cleveland fans everywhere, and you never know. Yeah, as he passed his prime,
absolutely. But
you never know. He might be that. That we keep going back to the puzzle. He might be that puzzle piece that Cleveland needs right now.
The Browns are a good team. Mm-hmm. Look how many quarterbacks they've went through this year, and they're still
in it.
They've had a great year. I think Stefanski should be coach of the year.
Could be. That's a good that'd be a good nominee right there. But yeah, I wanted to hit him. Any shout outs there, Robert? Any quick shout outs for anybody?
Any shout outs? No.
Shout out to Antonio Bryant.
Yeah, we can give a shout out to Antonio Bryant for that tweet. Good God, I don't know what the tweet. Let me read what the tweet.
When y'all sent that to the fantasy group, I thought it was a gag. Like, I thought it was a joke. Somebody just coming up with something wild and nasty out there, and was like, when I realized that, no, this is a real thing.
This is a real thing. His tweet says, "Hotel sex be different. You got to do shit you won't do at home, like nut on the TV." What? And what threw me off is he says hotel sex be different. You got to know, this isn't a situation where he's alone in his hotel room. He's whacking off, and he decides, I'm going to finish on the TV. Still don't understand it, but I can wrap my head around that one more. As I mentioned, we have a friend who admitted to doing it on the curtains of the hotel room. Still need more reasons for that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. This has been SportsBites. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so let's break down the scenario here. You're having sex in the hotel room. I don't care where you are in the hotel room, standing up in the bathroom, whatever. You're obviously going to be getting wild if you're Antonio Bryant. You're having sex. You get to the point where you're about to come, and you go, "Hold up, babe.
That TV's calling.
I got something to show you. Watch this shit." Stops what he's doing, goes over, and finishes on the TV. What the hell goes through that chick's mind at that point?
What the hell goes through the housekeeper's mind when they come in the next day to clean the room, and they look and they're like,
"Another day, another dollar."
Oh, God. Antonio Bryant, you may have the wildest tweet of the year. Although, I guess we do have another wild tweet to talk about.
Yeah. Rashaad Mendenhall.
I'll say maybe not on the same level, but equally as entertaining. Rashaad Mendenhall.
Yeah,
pretty wild tweet.
For those of you who didn't see this tweet, Rashaad Mendenhall says, "I'm sick of average white guys commenting on football." All right, that's us. Y'all not even good at football. Yeah, we know. All right?
I mean,
that's why we're talking about football. We're not playing it.
I mean, I just, back in the day, I could throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
And that's an okay tweet. You stop there.
Right.
Whatever. Can we please replace the Pro Bowl with an all-black versus all-white bowl so these cats can stop trying to teach me who's good at football? I'm better than your GOAT. I think that, like you said earlier, there's no joking in this tweet by him. He's not meaning to make a joke. He's serious.
And it could have been all it would have took was one little thing at the end to be like, ha ha.
Right. No, he's serious. I do think that it has sparked some funny conversation.
So funny.
And everything, as I pointed out to you, Will Compton, his video of
that might be one of the best podcasts
coming
episodes.
Up with the all white team.
Yes.
To go against the All Blacks. And when he started, I was like, "Oh wow, we got a pretty good team.
We're stacked, bro.
We've got a pretty good team." Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the NFL. I'll take him as our running back.
And I loved that how many people forgot that in today's game we still have a fullback. We still have a fullback.
We do.
Check, man. I was like, man, that's a good point.
And
he's versatile.
And as you stated earlier, Zach Martin is one of the best. There are great offensive linemen. He said, Kelsey at center, Zach Martin beside him, Lane Johnson on the left.
That whole right side of the line.
Then the left, Quentin Johnson,
yep.
And I can't remember who was.
I can't remember who it was either.
The left tackle. But either way, it's a great offensive line. The receivers are good, not as deep.
So, and no, we're not. But
we're not deep at running back either. Like, Christian is going to have to play every snap.
Yeah, he's the guy.
He gets no break. Yeah, that's going to hurt us.
Well, and the funny thing was when they flipped it, was talking about secondary. There was like, hey, I think we put Christian McCaffrey in. We play him both ways at safety. I'm like,
he's exhausted, dude.
This dude is like, he's not going to be able to breathe after the first quarter.
No, our secondary would get lit up. I don't even know if we'd have enough players to fill the secondary.
So hear me out. So I know we talked about it. So here we go. So as of right now, no, there is not a white cornerback starting in the NFL. But there is Riley Moss from Iowa, who plays for the Broncos. Now, is he the best in the league? No.
Obviously
that's why he's not a starter. But you can put him in at corner, and he can do a job. He can do
something.
So.
But can he cover Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown? Like, I don't even know who the wide receivers you're going to pick because they've got a plethora.
Well, so just like the wide receivers we were talking about earlier, you can only have so many of them on the field. So all we got, there's just a couple little spots you got to fill in. Harrison Smith, man, that helps.
But as you said, Delaney Walker claimed him.
I don't know. Like you said, Max Crosby, maybe.
But and I like Will Compton's, distinguish. He goes, "What do we do with the halves?" He goes, "Do they say the word? Y'all can have them. If they don't, they on our side."
I'm going to tell you
which is why I think maybe we get Puka Nacua, as he said, Puka Nacua.
They just, like, to me, and so here's my thing. So Puka Nacua, they said what he's
he's Samoan? Samoan, yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. What's the rule with non-black, non-white players? Because I mean, Gonzalez,
you could make a team of just Samoan.
You could do. Why is no one talking about this?
Yeah.
Will we lose?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to get destroyed.
Right. But that's
that has nothing to do with Mendenhall. And this whole thing about I'm better than your GOAT, well, I don't know who you're considering our GOAT, but GOAT or not, I seem to remember you getting blasted on by Green Bay.
By a white player.
Yeah.
Clay Matthews rocked him behind the line of scrimmage, made him fumble, and really won the game for Green Bay.
So, are you sure you're better than our GOAT?
But Mendenhall would like to point out, Roethlisberger threw 2 interceptions before that.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that's called deflecting. Well, I just thought that was funny. And you're right, a lot of fun has been had with it. And watching some of the other podcasts, the Bussin', that was a funny podcast, watching them go through it, seeing the debates and stuff. I think truly both teams could put together a pretty substantial team. The thing, and it just, the only thing that truly irritated me about it was in the world we live in today, there's so much stuff like preach back and forth. We all should come together and stuff, and so many issues in life. You got Mendenhall over here. I'm like, man, civil rights movement, everything. They fought so hard for so many things, man. And dude, they still to this day, they're crushing it. You got Mendenhall over here who's basically preaching segregation in the Pro Bowl. Like, come on, man. Can't we just have fun? I get it.
I don't see why it's a white, like, why he had to say average white guys talking about football.
Exactly.
That don't, because there are, what about Stephen A. Smith? I bet he can't play football. He talks a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's not like these average white guys are now, I'm not going to say all, because there probably are a few that are just attacking black players.
Yeah. Just
to attack black players. But they're not, they're just commenting on football.
Exactly.
It's like,
the NFL is a melting pot, first off. Let's just be honest here. That's what makes the NFL great. That's what makes a lot of pro sports great, is getting to see people from all walks of life, from everywhere, do a great job providing entertainment, playing a sport. That's why we watch it. Like,
what sport do you think whites would dominate the most?
NASCAR.
NASCAR? I say hockey.
Yeah. But I mean, and again, even this conversation,
right.
It's a fun conversation brought on by that. I think it's good
not
to see.
Serious. Like,
well,
I'm glad. Yeah.
People could have took it in a whole different direction and made it a very, very terrible thing. And I've loved seeing how much fun. Like, people are like, okay, well, you know what? Let's draft it up. Let's look at everybody's players. And again, the bussing thing, like, that's what got me, is like, after they're done, Will looks over and he's like, yeah, y'all got us.
Y'all got us.
He's like, when he's talking, he's like, no matter what our guys do, you guys can't get on top of us. Like, you get over the top and you're scoring touchdowns. He was like, no one's touching Tyreek on those. Like,
he kept saying you just rush 4 and you drop 8 in the coverage and you don't let anything behind you. Well, that's a great plan until they start running Derrick Henry down our throats. And we can't stop them with 4 pass rushers on our defensive line because we don't have many run-stopping white players. It's a lot of pass rushers that are the white players on the line. But yeah, no, I'm glad that it became, like, at least in the circles that I kind of went, that I follow on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it now. It became a lighthearted, kind of joking conversation.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that it went that way, because it could have went worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And that made me happy to see, because when I read that was another one. I read the tweet and was like, is he joking? Like, is he serious? How's this going? And then the more people started talking about it, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's serious, but, whatever. And then kept seeing it, and then started seeing people like, well, we got Cooper Kupp. And they're like, well, we got A.J. Brown.
Oh,
like, well, we got McCaffrey. Well, we got Derrick Henry.
The thing is, we have good. The biggest thing is we have good players at a lot of positions outside of secondary. We don't have depth.
No.
We don't have depth. We have some Pro Bowlers and All Pros at each position, but we got like a few.
Yeah.
Like I said, at wide receiver, they got some choices to make. Who the hell are you playing?
Yeah, dude. They have so many choices at wide receiver. Basically, you could switch out your entire wide receiver core with every package.
Right.
Like, these plays we're going deep, so we're running these guys. These plays we're looking for possession, we're running. Like, there's so many good receivers that they could choose from.
Running backs, so many.
Delaney, man, like watching him make his choices and stuff like that, it was funny. But yeah, it a lot of fun. Again, I appreciate you showing me that podcast. I never would have seen that one before, so I thought that was a lot of fun. We got a little bit of time left. There was one other thing, I really kind of wanted to hit on tonight. Also, another Pittsburgh Steeler. I couldn't make my shirt in time. I really wanted to make a shirt for the podcast that said "Free Kazee."
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Kazee hit on Pittman. I'm sure you've seen it a few times from a few angles. At this point, I've seen it from probably every angle, every speed, everything. Like, tough hit. Very tough hit. Glad Pittman was okay. Should he got a penalty? For sure. Like, I get it. Do I think it was malicious? Like, oh, you got to throw a flag on it? No, I don't think it was that. I think in just the sense of, well, they're trying to state these rules. You got to play by these rules. Yeah, it looked worse. I think refs a lot of times will throw a penalty if it just looks bad. I know there's been plenty of plays they've gone back and looked at and been like, ooh.
I think that play against the Cowboys against the Bills, where the Cowboys, it was like third down, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Shakir, jumped up for the ball, missed it, and Art hit him really hard. Like it was a it was a really hard hit. I think that was one of those where it looked worse than it was, and they got and continued. They ended up scoring. They kept the drive alive, and they ended up scoring. But that does happen a lot. It's like where the look of the penalty gets the flag.
Yeah, and that's so. My thing was, they suspend Kazee for the season, for the rest of the season, as they say.
That counts postseason as well?
I would have to say probably. I would have to say that's probably he's done for the rest of the year.
Not saying they're going to make
it. Yeah. But you have to look at that possibility. Right. To me, I've said it. No, as a Philly fan, Philly Pitt, in-state rivals, no love lost for Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think that they're being fair to him. They say a repeat offender, and but there's plenty of guys who are repeat offenders who lay big hits and who don't get suspended for the season. I don't know the guy. I can't speak on his character or anything like that. What I can speak on is the guy's a professional football player who's paid millions of dollars to keep a guy from catching balls, scoring touchdowns, and that's what he was doing. He was doing his job. Watching the slow-mo of the video, Pittman doing his job too in my book. Like, he's laying out. I'll tell you who, truthfully, in my book, the only person not doing their job properly on that one was probably Gardner Minshew. The throw being a little bit errant on that one, and you're forcing a guy into a bad position. We saw back in the day, Deshaun, man, that dude took hits over the middle that I thought he was dead. And that's what it is. It's like you sell a guy out, basically. I don't think there was any malicious intent by Kazee. And I think that to me, if you're going to suspend a guy like that, I think that's what you have to look at is, okay, he's a repeat offender. Well, can you work on it? Or is this malicious? Is he coming after guys? And I don't think, from this hit at least, I don't think that's the case. I think that he was doing his job. Bang, bang, play. I mean, entertaining sport. We all pay money to watch, for merchandise and all kinds of stuff to watch and root for our teams. They want these guys to go 110 miles an hour at 110%. You can't expect them to stop in a millisecond. His knee is bent. He's starting to drop that shoulder down. Shoulder parallel with his head. Not leading with the crown. Not leading with the helmet. Pittman dives for the ball. Is it a bang-bang play? Is it unfortunate? Yes. I'm glad Pittman's okay. Glad Kazee's okay. I think that we have to do something about this because it's becoming where guys really can't do their jobs.
Yeah, it's harsh. I don't think a season is right. I think I told you earlier, I think they might have done season because there's only 3 games left in the regular season. And it's NFL's way of saying, if we say it's the season, it looks worse than us saying it's 3 games.
Yeah.
Tells the players we're taking this seriously, blah, blah, blah. But what are you taking seriously exactly? Like, did that warrant a 3-game suspension? I don't know.
And to me,
like, how long did Myles Garrett get suspended for?
With the whole Rudolph incident?
Yeah. Was that the season?
It was indefinitely
and it was just the rest
I think it ended up being
season.
the rest of the season.
that's as malicious as you get.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You rip a helmet off of somebody's head, and then you use that helmet on him as a deadly weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably should have been more than a season.
Probably. Maybe spend a little time in Canada.
Right. Because then Calvin Ridley, how much time did he get suspended for gambling?
Oh, yeah.
What, in a couple years?
It was, yeah, a pretty decent amount. I don't remember the exact amount.
So what the NFL is telling you is betting on the NFL is worse than ripping someone's helmet off and hitting them in the head with it as hard as you can.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley was suspended indefinitely through the 2022 season.
So it was just 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay.
It appears so.
Either way.
But I mean, that's a whole season. That's from the beginning to the end.
And I do get that. Don't get me wrong. I do get that.
Yeah.
To where you have to maintain the integrity of the sport, of them gambling on the sport. But that's going to be harder to manage now with gambling being legal now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is the rule is now you can bet on the games, or you can't bet on the NFL, but you can gamble. I think before you couldn't even gamble on anything. You can gamble outside of the facilities. Mm-hmm. Like that means anything. I'm not sure what the hell that means. But if you're away from the team facility, you can gamble. I don't know for sure. I don't think they can still bet on NFL games.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
But you can gamble outside of the team facilities for some reason. This arbitrary line.
Well, I'm gonna eat a few more of these, and I'm gonna play a clip. This clip was from Mike Mitchell for the Steelers, and I think it carries a lot with it right now, because everything he says in my book is true, and it's got to be frustrating as a defensive player at some point, because you're asked to do all of these things. They want you to protect guys when you hit them. But you need to try to get the ball. But you need to make sure you're watching the field making the play. But you need to do this, but you need to do that. It's a lot to ask of a guy and then be like...
Make a split-second decision.
And if you make the wrong one, you're getting fined and you're getting suspended. So let me play this clip real quick. That's my thing, and I hope that came through on the mics. I don't really know if it did or not, but I hope it did, because every point he hit on was legit right there. Your quarterback throws you a bad ball. I saw it on Twitter today. The best thing I've ever, one of the greatest terms I've ever seen. Is I was like, no, your quarterback throws you a hospital ball, but it's the defensive back's fault.
Yeah, did you see Tom Brady? What he
No,
He had this long thing where he basically said the same thing. He goes, "That's bad QB play."
Yep.
He goes, "The NFL is plagued with bad QB play. You don't throw your receivers out to dry. You don't throw that ball." Mm-hmm. And all this. And I saw some tweet reply. He goes, "Yeah, you don't throw your wide receiver out. You don't hang your wide receiver out to dry unless it's the Super Bowl, and then you hang Edelman out to dry and get whacked, and also every ball you ever threw to Welker. But I agree with Tom Brady. I agree with that and what Tom Brady said. But then Tom Brady he's been talking about the rules of the NFL and how it's soft and all of this and like the calls that they make and everything. Dude, you're the reason for that. These rule changes were made to benefit you. You benefited from all of these rule changes your entire career.
Yep.
And I never heard you bitch about them once while you were playing. And now, all of a sudden, the first year you're not playing football, you're going to bitch about the rules in the NFL? I would like to know how many rules Tom Brady got changed by, like the tuck rule, one. The you can't go at quarterbacks you can't go at below the knee.
Yep.
That was because Tom Brady missed the season. The NFL's like, nah.
Oh yeah, we can't have this.
Nah, we can't have that. So a lot of these soft, the roughing the passer penalties, thanks to you.
Well, we talked last week with Brent about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a good quarterback, man. He's a great quarterback. I see some similarities in him and Tom Brady. And one of them is every time he gets up from taking a hit now, every single time, whether it's dirty or not, he's like looking at the refs for a call. And Brady, man, he was notorious for it, man.
To be fair, every single quarterback does that.
A lot. I don't think they do it every time they go down. I've seen games where I really truly believe every time Patrick Mahomes hit the ground, he came up and was like, "Where's my flag? Where's my flag?" You start expecting it at a certain point. But as far as Kazee, I think personally, the punishment very much too harsh. I hope everything works out for him. I hope he gets the coaching he needs to do better for what they're penalizing him for. Again, I don't know him as a player very well. I haven't paid a lot of attention, but that kind of also tells me, like, when Vontaze Burfict was getting hit with suspensions and stuff for his play, he was so dirty. You were seeing it. I mean, it was on SportsCenter. It was all over the place. I haven't seen that about Kazee. This was the one big thing that happened, and they acted like this dude is like killing people on the field every single game. I'm like, well, is he? Because I'm not really seeing a lot about it. I'm not saying he's not, going after some guys. He very well could be. But just the whole repeat offender thing, I'm like, to suspend him. And you might be right. Maybe it's because it's the end of the season. You're getting close to the end of it. But to me, that almost carries more clout now, because if Pittsburgh is on the bubble, they need every bit that they could get. Maybe that's why they did it that way. I'm not sure. But I just don't think it's fair.
Pittsburgh needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
They're brutal.
The thing is, they knew when Ben was in his last couple years, and I don't think they truly went through the motions they needed to fill that void.
No, they should have tried to fill that void a couple years before Ben Roethlisberger's last year, because he was not the same then. Well,
and you end up to me, the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers transition, that is the most that's how a team should want a seamless transition from a veteran starter to their next up in line. You got a guy who's learned for a couple years. He's seen that player play at his best still. When they know he's about to leave, whether he's retiring or going to another team, you have a guy ready to step into that role. And
so do you think Jordan Love is that guy? It's the same situation.
It is the same situation. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you still have to have a certain caliber, and Love could be. He might be a player that just needs that field time. He needs that time on the field to learn the ins and outs that you don't get by sitting on the bench. They got lucky with Rodgers when he came in a sense that he picked up on things that he didn't learn behind Favre. He picked up on some of those things really fast. And Love could be. Don't get me wrong. He's shown some really good things. I think consistency is something that comes with experience, and he does not have that experience yet. But only time will tell. He could come through next year and be
Well, I would probably dislike Love just because he's on the Packers, and I love rooting against the Packers because of Zach. But I now despise Jordan Love for the rest of... He can never do anything to redeem himself. I will hate him for the rest of his career because of last week when he threw the potential game-winning touchdown to Heath, which was 100 times tougher throw on the sideline against the guy being covered that he had to barely catch the ball and get in the pylon instead of just doing that to Jaden Reed right in front of him.
Who? Jaden Reed?
Yeah, because...
Isn't he on your fantasy team?
Yeah. That would have got me into the playoffs. That I'd be whooping everyone's ass in right now. But whatever.
I'm just like getting the Doc Holliday from Tombstone book right now. Like, now I really hate him.
No, I will hate Jordan Love forever because of that.
Well, Zach doesn't make it any easier to want to like somebody.
Oh, he makes it so easy to hate the Packers. So easy.
Oh, man.
They went on that little win streak where they were in the hunt, and he was talking so much shit about, oh, man, I can't wait to see y'all in the playoffs and beat that ass out the playoffs again. And I'm just like, yeah? You think? You think you're going to? You won't even see us. We're going to be the 5 seed, and you're going to be the 7 seed or whatever. You wouldn't see us until the NFC Championship game, and we probably aren't getting that far. You definitely aren't getting that far. I haven't heard him say really anything in the last 2 weeks, though.
Yeah. We'll see what happens around Christmas time.
I have a feeling I'll get a message from him after this is posted.
Maybe. Well, Robert, that's about everything I've got.
Yeah.
So we gotta do our review. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is about to be the easiest damn review I've probably
I don't want to give it too high though,
because it sets the bar for everything.
Yeah, it sets the bar for everything.
Well, so here's the thing. When we did the Lindor chocolates, I think I gave those an 8.5. They were really good. Really good. These are good. They're really good. Almost perfect. These are almost a perfect snack. But at $10 a bag.
$10?
$10 a bag. I have to take a little notch off. And I kind of did for the Lindor chocolates too. They were expensive too. It's got to take a little notch for that price. $10 a bag for some candy. I mean, we're grown adults. We're not kids. We pay whatever we want to for candy at this point in our lives. But for $10 a bag, I'm going to say, okay, down a whole mouthful of them. God, they do just melt though. I'm giving them a 9, solid 9 flat.
I was thinking like 8.3.
Yeah.
Because I think they are as good. They are really good. I would rather have regular lemon heads.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I like as much as the flavor that I like the consistency and the way that the candy is that you don't get with this. So I would probably still rate the lemon heads higher, but they're very tasty.
Yeah, those are. Oh man, those are definitely my favorite that I've had so far on the podcast.
Okay.
Definitely. So, and I know we've got a different brand, some freeze-dried Skittles coming that I think are.
We had Nerds.
Yeah, well, we did that first one. They were freeze-dried Nerd clusters.
Okay.
And I might get some of those coming back since we never got to officially put those on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at Brian's place he had freeze-dried Sprees.
Yeah.
and something else. I can't remember.
I haven't tried the Spree.
I think
yet.
it was. I think he had Skittles and Spree.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's... Man, those are good. I'm going to have to stay off those for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
I haven't even eaten any dinner yet. Yeah, I'm
Me either. Me either.
Like, well, I could sit there and cook something, or I could just eat lemon heads all night. So, well, Robert, I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having
being
me.
on the podcast. Absolutely, man. This was a lot of
Subscribe.
fun. Absolutely. Everybody, for real, like and subscribe. Again, I can't stress enough. We want to get those likes. We want to get those subscriptions in. The more we get, the bigger we get, the more we give. Like I said, 50 subscription giveaway. Not going to announce it till we probably have 25 subscribers, so we have something for people to look forward to. I can say this: part of that giveaway will include a bag of some freeze-dried lemon heads. That I can promise you will be part of it.
That should be motivation enough for you to subscribe.
I would think so. So at the very least, if that's the small end of it, you never know what it could be. I've got some big things planned, but we got to get there first. So yeah, there's that. I would like to say on our first podcast, we did announce that we would be doing these podcasts and having them up, I think, like 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. We have set an official time for the podcast. SportsBites podcast will be officially debuting every week, Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is our new time slotted. We're sticking to it. That's when you will get your next SportsBite. Will be Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock. So,
all right. Look
everybody,
forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, again, Robert, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, man.
It's great having you here. Good luck to your Cowboys for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they're going to need it. Your Eagles, too.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, you know what? That's all right. We'll have a party and we'll both watch the playoffs after both our teams are out. I'm cool with that. I like cooking.
Sounds good.
Well,
Yep.
On that note, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here again. I can't stress enough. Like, subscribe, leave some comments of some snacks you want to see reviewed, any topics that you want to see hit on. Give us some ideas. Thank you again so much. We are SportsBite, your #1 podcast, bringing you everything hot takes from sports to snacks. Thank you so much, everybody. Y'all have a good night.
Later.
Long as I wake up in the morning, I'ma get a bag. Get a bag, yeah, I'ma get a bag. Long as I wake up in the morning, I'ma get a bag. Get a bag, yeah, I'ma get a bag.